Welcome to the Business and Brews podcast, where our mission is to highlight local businesses in the Triangle area and shed light on different industries. And welcome back to the Business and Brews show. I'm Gavin Vincent.
And I am Ryan Smeltz, and ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have the pleasure and honor of introducing Nick and Scott of Trek CBD. So Nick, Scott, tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you do.
First of all, thanks for coming in tonight. It's great to kind of share a beer with people like you. Yeah. So it's going to be fun conversation to get to know each other a little bit more. I think Scott and I already agreed to the fact that no question is out of bounds. So if anybody's watching online, please feel free to ask anything. But I am Nick Pione. I am the co-founder of Trek CBD. I live here in Wake Forest, North Carolina, and you'll probably get to know the rest of my story as we go along. But let me pass it over to Scott.
Yeah, so I just want to be very clear that I agreed to the no question goes unanswered prior to meeting you guys. And now that I've met you guys, I want to just rein it back a little bit because I have kids that are going to grow up in this. So, no, look, I'm Scott. I'm the co-founder as well. Nick is my partner. Nick is my neighbor. Nick is one of my best friends, so it's really cool to be a part of this with Nick, and we'll get into some details about who we are, what we're all about. But yeah, let's just do our best to, now that I know you guys, Ryan and Gavin, let's just do our best to make sure that I stay at least a little bit at a 20,000 foot view. I appreciate that. All right.
Yeah, definitely. So. Normally at this point we talk about the beer. I'd like to thank you guys. Trek CBD actually provided the beer this evening. So Nick, you got yours in your hand. What are you drinking on there?
This is definitely one of my favorites, and we want to give a shout out to Lone Rider Brewing Company, but in particular the Hideout here in Wake Forest. They've been a great partner of ours. When we did our grand opening back in March, we had about 300 people here at the store. They were outside pouring beers, just giving people an awesome experience of our grand opening that we wanted. And we're just proud that tonight I'm drinking Sweet Josie Brown Ale, or I should say I'm starting here. We'll see where we finish.
I'd love to tell you what I'm drinking, but I'm like 4 in, so I forgot where I was at, but I know it came from Lone Rider for sure.
Okay, yeah. So it looks like mine says barrel aged Pistols at Dawn. So this is a stout. I like stout, so I'm a fan of this one. And Gavin?
Yeah, I know you love the stouts. I'm actually doing the Badlands Dunkel Lager from Lone Rider, so definitely delicious. A darker lager, but all good and the same. So it's been a little bit since the last episode. How have things been going? It's been about, 3 months since this was pre-COVID. So how's everything been going?
Yeah. So definitely, obviously, we did a little adjustment on the audio here. So I hope that works out for us. Definitely looking for some improved quality, and then enough microphones for everybody in the future. But yeah, so pretty much sales all the way. I actually have another consulting call this week. My goal with that is to help small local businesses in any way possible. So that's pretty exciting. That's actually how I met Nick. But what about you, Gavin? What have you been up to?
Just trying to adjust to the new normal. Of course, having a 4-year-old and a wife, that definitely has been a new normal with everybody being at home. But definitely an adjustment for sure. How about you guys, Nick and Scott?
Yeah, it's been something special for us. So my family's been getting adjusted to me as a whole being home, and then the COVID hit. Now they're really being adjusted to me being home. Traveling for the last 13 plus years in my previous life, and then being home with, now that Nick and I have done this CBD journey, being home a lot. My wife tells me all the time, hey, I kind of have a program, and I never really fit you into the program. I never really scheduled you into the world that we live in. So now me just getting time on that calendar has been super important. But man, I'm loving being home with my kids. My kids are ready to go back to school, but I'm loving being home with my kids. I'm loving spending time. I'm loving doing the I was going to say yard work, but then my wife's going to chime in as a question at the end of this. But just doing things around the house and doing what I got to do. But no, it's look, I think you adapt, right? And just like anything else in life, we're all in sales. All of us, all 4 of us have been in sales in our lives, and you adapt to the environment and you make it work.
It really is, and I mean, I echo everything you guys said tonight. Just a big shout out to my wife, Scott's wives, and your wives, the ones that are actually home with the kids, homeschooling, still, doing everything with the kids while we're able to live our dream here, which is, really help people on the journey to wellness. That's what Trek is all about. Trek CBD is about a journey to wellness, and we're going to get more into that a little bit later tonight, but we're just very happy and very humbled by the fact that we were able to stay open during all this. We've adapted like everything else, and we'll talk about that, how we've done local deliveries, how we've done online deliveries, but we're just, again, humbled that we were deemed essential and allowed to serve the community that we live in and the neighbors that we care about in an industry that is just evolving day by day. So we're living our dream, and for a lot of the people that are probably watching here, I just want to start off with a big thank you because you make our dream possible every single day.
Thanks so much for that, Nick. Before we get too far, I do want to mention our affiliate, Vintage Rebellion. So they're a new affiliate with us. They create quality handcrafted leather products for businesses. What I really like about them is that they are a small business just like us, just like you. So whatever you need to carry, protect the things you use every day to run your business, whether it's a phone or a tablet or something like that, they probably make many different styles of cases for that. So if you go to our website, there's a link on there. You get 10% off. I'm sure they appreciate it. I'm sure we appreciate it. And I think now I really want to dive into the main question. And Gavin, I'm going to let you start it off.
I like it. So thanks again. First I just want to tell you guys both thanks for having us in your beautiful space. I mean, if you guys are ever in the Wake Forest area, you definitely need to stop by this store right here off Main Street, correct? South Main Street, right? Not too far from the Walmart and right between Heritage and Wakefield. So awesome location. Definitely, if you're in the area, definitely stop by the store. So I guess just like any other interview, let's just start out with you guys' backgrounds because I know your background's a little different. So.
Yes, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm holding the mic. All right, there we go. I grew up in the Northeast. I grew up in Massachusetts. When I was 14, I started working in restaurants, and I kind of started my entrepreneurial journey. I kind of knew that I was really comfortable kind of learning new things, and I was in an industry at the time, in the restaurant industry, that was very fast-paced, very exciting, and I did that for about 10 years. Growing up in the Northeast, working in different restaurants, where I actually ended up at Hyatt Hotels, where I met my wife, Katie. And that started kind of our journey together. But back in about the early 90s, there was about 21 snowstorms. We were living in Connecticut at the time, and we said, you know what? There's got to be a better way to live. So my parents had been living in Florida kind of as a vacation thing at first, and it was going to become a retirement thing. And we just said, you know what? We've got no kids. Let's just pick it up and go down there. And we lived very happily in Florida for 15 years, that's where I started a career in pharmaceutical sales. I started off with a company called GlaxoSmithKline. Started off as a sales rep, but that entrepreneurial light was always blinking in the back of my mind, basically. Like I was working for a $33 billion corporation, but I kept seeking out assignments that would challenge me in new and different ways. To the point where as I rose the ranks and became a manager and then eventually became a vice president, in a big company, as you would expect, they would kind of test you and say, what are your leadership motivations and what are your leadership drivers? And one of my top drivers was always about entrepreneurialism, which can mean a couple of things, right? It means that's why I always kind of seeked out new things, and that's why, when I was living in Raleigh, they offered me a position in California to lead a large sales team in California as a vice president, and it was a totally foreign market. I was an East Coast guy, but I was just enamored by this massive, huge ecosystem that I could come in and learn from and eventually drive performance with, right? Lead way outside of my head around there, right? So that kind of drove the entrepreneurial kind of light in me. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we got to Trek CBD later, but I don't want to steal Scott's thunder about the background of the origin story. But not to forget, though, we do raise our families here. My wife, Katie, our 3 kids, Sydney, Connor, and Ella, are all being raised here in Wake Forest. It was vitally important to Scott and I to open a store in Wake Forest because this is where we live and this is our community. But we will be, as we talk later, spreading out across the triangle very shortly.
Yeah, so I don't remember what the question was.
Just answer it.
Oh, just answer it?
Yeah.
So I'm originally from Southern California. I was born and raised in a town called Chino, California. So basically smack dab in the middle of San Diego and LA. We call it the Inland Empire. And for those of my friends that are watching right now, 909. And so, but I grew up kind of in a retail background, so a little bit different than Nick's background, right? Where, you know, in that world where you're leading teams of folks that are calling on customers more, you know what I mean? Where we were taking customers more. So my background's wireless. So over the last, 15 to 20 years, I've been in the wireless side of the business. But I grew up, I've been very fortunate and extremely blessed to work alongside, for, and with some of the most talented people in retail. And I just want to say that because it allowed me to grow to be the person I am today. And Trek CBD is about an experience more than about anything else. It's about the experience, the education, the value, and the quality that you get at Trek CBD, right? And being in the wireless background that I was in and working for entrepreneurs that grew it from one store to thousands of stores over the time through a tremendous amount of help, landed me here in Wake Forest. It brought me to Raleigh, right? And that's where I came from, the Midwest. After I went from Southern California to the Midwest to Raleigh, was with that, in the wireless industry. Landed in Wake Forest, and in May of last year, took a different turn and separated with the company that I was with, and was able to, and we'll get into this, but was able to partner up with Nick and really just hone in on who I was going to be and what I was going to be all about. And that's what it is. It's about the experience to me. It's about listening. It's about understanding what the customer wants and being able to deliver on that experience. And I learned that from some amazing people. And I wish we had enough time on this podcast for me to go through the list, but we don't. And by the way, I deserve most of the credit anyways. But what it boils down to for me is that's who we are. I mean, I have 5 kids. I have an amazing wife who's been on some incredible journeys with me, whether it be personally through personal challenges to, professional challenges. And my wife has been by my side. I got my daughter, Kaylee, Hunter. I got Ryder, Chase, and Faith, and they mean the world to me. And we just, every single day, it's about me and Nick just doing better for our families. And it's really special. It's special to be able to do it here, but more importantly, it's special to be able to do it together. Our wives, you talked about how beautiful this store is. We would love to take the credit. We don't. It's Katie and Shannon that get all the credit for how beautiful this store is, but that's who we are, and that's what we're all about. So.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that, Scott. And both of you guys talked a lot about experience. So the experience that people get when they come into the store, but also the experience that you have from your backgrounds. So it kind of sounds like you're headed down a road in corporate America, setting yourselves up for success in the long term in major organizations, but then you kind of freeze everything and you come over here and we're in one location where you have a game plan to expand, but why am I going to leave behind the suit and tie corporate America and come and start a small business? So Scott, you have the microphone, so maybe you want to start.
I'll go first. I'll go first, and I'm going to name drop here for a second. But I have a mentor. His name's Kevin Tupi, and he's very special to me. And he's an entrepreneur who literally was in corporate America, in the banking industry for a tremendous amount of time, and decided to go off on the other side and what is now called Victra. Was one of the founders of what's now called Victra, which is a Verizon retailer. And he always told me, he said, listen, man, he's like, you can build and build and build your career in the world of corporate America. You can continue to build these things. Does it fill your heart? Does it give you something in your heart that you can be proud of, right? Are you making a difference every single day? And I felt like I was for a really, really long time, right? And then I decided, what did I miss? And I talked to my 19-year-old son, Hunter, and my getting ready to be 24-year-old, 25-year-old daughter, Kaylee. And they told me everything I missed when I was doing what I was doing there, right? And I have 3, I have 11, I have 9, and I got 5 at home. And for me, it was what fills my heart is being a dad, right? And so for me, it didn't have anything to do with the company Victor I work for. I love those guys. I love everything and everyone in that company. For me, it was what's bigger, the role or the life, right? So I could have very easily, after Victor, we separated, I could have went back into the wireless business and went straight back to that grind of airports on Mondays and airports on Fridays. But for me, it was, can I still fulfill the servant leader, the servant part of my life, which is deliver something to somebody of high quality and change their life, and be at home, or do I have to go that route? And for me, it was, let's stay home and be a dad and be a husband, but still have my servant mentality by serving the community that I live in.
Yeah, really, really well said, Scott. And I mean, we share. You're going to hear in this podcast, we share a lot of similarities. He's my brother from another mother, basically, because we did have that similar path. And I was gone, 4 days a week working in California, and I feel like I missed so much. I mean, I was a FaceTime dad a lot of the time, right? And there were things at school that I could never go to, right? I could never be there for whatever it was, to go to your kid's school. So I think it's two things for me. It was that, number one, the primary driver in my mind. And it's funny, you were kind of like, I felt like you were channeling my wife when you said, how did you convince her, basically, I'm like, oh my God, this is going back, right? That I'm not going back. But the truth be known is, when I was out there and I did interview, after I left GSK, I did interview, it was all sounding the same to me. It was going to be the same thing. And you know what? I believe in one thing. So families first. But the second thing in my life is I don't want to live with regret. I have a really strong faith in what I do in life. But on top of that is I do recognize that this is my one life to live, right? And it's a precious life, and it was given to us, right? But I got to realize at the end of the day, though, if I wasn't going to do this now, if we weren't going to try this now, and by the way, like any entrepreneur, right? It's try, but it could be failure, right? You don't know, right? But if I wasn't going to try this now, when was I going to do it, right? There's never a good time. So I was just blessed that, like Scott, I had a lot of people that challenged me in my life, but I was really blessed to find him because we were just right in the space at the right time when we both came to that realization and said, not only are we going to do this, we're going to do it together.
Right.
Okay?
That's awesome. And, one thing I definitely do want to point out is everyone uses the excuse that, hey, I have a family, hey, I have kids, in order to not pursue that true passion or that true business they want to start. And I commend both of you guys because, one, you stepped away from that stability of the corporate life in order to pursue something that was going to give you a better overall life in general. Right. So,
yeah, thank you.
No problem. So, with that and along that same thread, how did you guys meet and form this partnership? I mean, because you guys are a pretty good team. I seem to think you guys balance each other out pretty well.
So this is how we're going to connect it all together tonight, right? Okay, so Scott and I were neighbors, right? So we live like literally 100 yards from each other, right? So we knew each other on that level, right? I think it took us a while to start hanging out together. It took us 6 months maybe. I don't think you were very sure of me. Oh, I didn't have any tattoos.
You were older.
I was older.
It wasn't love affair.
I am the older one, yes. Okay, I am the older one, yes. So I was old. I was too old, essentially, right? Which is, by the way, code for not cool, right? Just so you know, it's code not cool. But honestly, so we talked a lot about how this came to be. But honestly, it was one night where we were sitting at Lone Rider, the Hideout. We were gone out with our wives. We were both doing our job search kind of thing, and I give Scott all the credit in the world because Scott is great. You dripped on me for probably 3 months. Just dropped it into every conversation we were having. Hey man, the CBD thing, this is going crazy right now. I'm like, yeah, well, whatever, Scott. Whatever, right? And then one night, being Scott, how good he is, we sat outside of Lone Rider and we're having beers around there and we're playing cornhole, having a great time. And he's like, all right, if you were going to do CBD, how would you do it, basically? And we just went like a tennis match all night long. We do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And you could tell, once we walked out of that meeting, over many beers, by the way, that it was going to happen. The horse had left the barn. We didn't know yet how we were going to do it. And we can talk about our business plan, about how we interviewed every manufacturer in this room, and I can let Scott talk about that. But it was going. It was there. My wife turned to me that night, and she's like, You're really thinking about this, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm really thinking about this, right? I'm there's a lot of work we got to do yet, but I think we're kind of in the inception stage. So yeah, that's how it started. That's Oh yeah, she knew it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can't add anymore. What do you want me to add? Don't add me the mic.
Oh no, that's a fantastic story, but I guess very similar to what I told you guys, how the whole podcast got started.
Right. Exactly.
He came to me with the idea, and I was like, yeah, okay, I guess. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I never thought of that before. But definitely, so I guess a good question for you to answer, Scott, is Nick kind of told us how you developed the plan, You came up with it. You're like, oh, let's have some beer and talk about what we would do with the CBD business. But I guess a good question to you, Scott, is why CBD? Like, why not Matchbox cars? Why not video games?
I'm a believer just through, again, through some great people that I've had in my life. I'm a believer that you have to find a problem and solve it, right? I mean, if you're going to start a business, there better be a problem, and you better have that solved for that problem, right? So I think from the CBD side, not only just because my mom has used it, my mom's a cancer survivor, and she continues. Now she's on another round of battling through some things, and which is very near and dear to my heart, but she found relief from it. I have multiple people in my life. Nick has a brother in his life that's found relief through the CBD side. And I think from Nick's background with GSK and my background with Verizon, we've always had a problem, we've always solved it. That's who we were. Yeah, we grew up in this world of what like it's hashtagged or comma corporate America, but we solved problems. That's what we did, right? We solved problems. And I think for me, I wanted to be a part of something where I knew people were going to be able to benefit from the service that I was providing because of both of our ability, our want to be a servant, right? And we have a neighbor across the street from us, brief story, if we got time, who sells Narcan for a living, right? Which is the drug that brings all the opiates people back to life, right? The overdosers.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And man, when you talk about two guys who started a CBD business that never knew that some of the things we were going to do, we're going to change lives in that direction, and then we meet a guy like Travis, who actually owns Purple Cross USA, by the way, which is a faith-based apparel company, but sells Narcan for a living. And we found out that CBD can assist in that, right? Can assist in people getting over opiates and things like that, right? And man, we just knew we had something special. We knew we had something special. Coming from an addiction background myself, for many, many years, and I get emotional, and because my life is so different now, and I was so different then. Being able to deliver a natural way for people to be able to survive, right? A natural way for people to get off of painkillers and things that are progressive, right, in the wrong way. For people to be able to say, hey, because of your products, because of these products, I'm able to live a higher quality of life for however long I got left because from cancer and things like that, right? All the research shows and all the studies show that these things are helping. Just led us down the path of, man, this is the right business for us to be in. These are two guys who've always wanted to build something around serving the communities in multiple ways, right? And that's why I think that's where we're at, right? And people always ask us, hey, when marijuana goes legal, are you going to do it? Can you guys bring marijuana in? And the answer is no. Let me tell you guys straight up right now on this live podcast, right? Yeah. The answer is no. And would we ever look at that as a different business option? We believe in cannabis. We would. Right. But would Trek CBD ever be that business? No. Because we believe that our customers are looking for something special. Right. And I think CBD is delivering that. Right. And we're super proud to be in that space. And we're super proud to be partnered up with companies like Pachamama, who has had our back from day one out of Colorado. I mean, an amazing company, right? Aria, those folks at Pachamama. And if you read their story, for all of you that are watching this podcast, this great podcast with these two great guys, if you ever log onto their story, you'll understand why. But that's who we are. It's literally solving a problem, and that problem is people want a natural way to sleep better, to manage pain, to manage anxiety, and for overall balance. And we deliver all four of those things to people.
And it's fun, and I got to be honest with you. I mean, it's so rewarding, and probably one of the biggest rewards we get is when a customer comes through that door and they look at you and they say, I need help with whatever it is, right? I need help with anxiety. I'm just feeling the pressures right now of everything that's going on in the world. It's all around me. I can't sleep, or you know what? It's exacerbating my pain. And we get a chance to sit them down, either right here where we're sitting right now. We get a chance to sit them down, talk to them, spend time with them. I want to tell you, it's rewarding for us beyond any money you could ever make, because you see that, you know what, they see the hope there, and they say that there's something that can help me, and it will help them. But for us, it's more than just that. It's just being able to say, just sit down, just take a few minutes about it. Just tell us what's going on in your life, and we'll listen to you, right? And then we'll find a solution if it's possible for us. And when they report back afterwards, a week later, a day later, and say, my life has changed because of this, I mean, that's it. I mean, that's honestly it. And that might sound cliche to some people and say whatnot, but that's the rush I got in pharmaceuticals for 20 years. You know, it's a different, obviously, in that industry is completely different than this. But to see patients makes you constipated sometime, right? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm getting through that, by the way, just so you know. But thanks for asking.
Good.
But I mean, it was the same reward. Seeing people say, you know what, I couldn't breathe before, now I can breathe. And here it's like, you know what, I'm living a different life. I'm living my best life because I have less anxiety. I'm more on balance. And by the way, that speaks for me too, because ever since I've been taking CBD, I think my wife likes me. I can't really quantify. A little bit better, right, behind that. So
I may have to pick some up then.
If you're going to say that.
So for some of the viewers out there that may, are right there on the fence as far as starting that business, talk to us about Brass and Tacks, like how you actually started the business. What market research did you do? You know, how did you determine that this was the right industry? How did you determine this was the right market for that industry?
So I am a big proponent of know your role and know what you're supposed to speak about, what you're not supposed to speak about. And I didn't do any of that. So I'm going to pass this back to Nick.
I don't think that's fair, by the way. I think it's fair, but let's just talk about it as a team here, okay? Thank you, Scott. But always happy to receive the punt or on that. So, I mean, listen, we knew CBD was what they call the green rush, right? We first started with local market research and said, if you're going to buy CBD right now, where are you going to go, right? And that could be a gas station, that could be a vape shop, it could be another CBD retail type of store. And quite honestly, and this is not against anybody else, none of the current concepts spoke to us. When you go into some of these stores, a lot of the things were behind glass, and it kind of made you feel like you just really shouldn't touch that, right? Some of the stores made you go through a door and come into the back room, and it kind of made it feel like, and customers were actually telling us this, not our feeling, that it didn't feel like I was right going in there, right? To the point where in vape shops, is this not myself or more of my friends would feel comfortable going into, right? Nothing wrong with them, not speaking down about it, just doesn't speak to me as a concept. So we knew there that we needed to create, and with Scott's expertise, a different retail environment. And then we went to work on the market research itself, and we said, okay, listen, where is it at now? It's like any good business plan, right? We knew the problem we were going to solve, right? We were trying to formulate the problem, but then we said, okay, it's at an $800 million industry. It's going to be a $20+ billion industry in 5 years. How do we want to be different, right? Well, how do we want to be different? Well, Kevin, you and I talked about this as you walked in the door tonight, and we said, you know what? We have a task, and our task is pretty big, because we're going to ask people at the end of the sale if they're happy with us and they trust us to put something into their body. I can't think of a higher commitment, right? To take something and put it into your body. So we knew we weren't going to be one of these shops that just threw a bunch of Trek CBD labels on everything, didn't know where the stuff is coming from, just so we could make a higher profit margin. No. Scott and I went out and we did an exhaustive, basically manufacturer research, where we said everybody in this room is going to be responsible for manufacturing their own products. What we call the soil to the oil. They grow the hemp, they sustain the hemp, and then they actually put it into the bottle. So we know that if you're going to take one of our products, even if it's not ours, it's going to be 100% free of heavy metals, pesticides, molds, anything like that. And from a value perspective, if it says 750 milligrams, you're going to get 750 milligrams, because you're not going to pay for something that you're not going to get. So all of that was in our market research, and as we started to formulate this problem, we said, okay, the size of the market's there, we know what the retail concept is with there, now let's create a customer experience that can mirror that. And we came up with a value proposition, right, which is we really want to help people experience the many therapeutic benefits of CBD, right, through three things. And the three things are really simple, and they might not sound like, it's that exciting, but it's through education, number one, because in market research it told us that outside of these walls, there is a ton of consumers that are interested in CBD, what we call curious, right? But they're also confused. Like, is this weed or is it not weed, right? Is it safe? Is it not safe? Is it addictive? Is it not addictive, right? Is it legal? And we laugh about that because our store happens to sit in a plaza where there is a police station right next door. We're like,
I just saw that for the
we're like, I don't know, I mean, yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're curious, right? But they're confused a little bit, right? And so we needed to create an experience that was going to deliver on that. So when you come into our store, it starts with education, right? We'll tell you throughout the story about the quality and how everything in this room has the utmost highest quality. And then you know what? We took a different approach. We said, there's a lot of people, like we had talked about before, that are just passionate about making money. We're passionate about helping people get better. Trek is about a journey to wellness. That's what it's about. There's a lot of people on this journey. Some people are already on the natural journey and they're doing alternative things. Some people are on just the more of my old path, which was the pharmaceutical journey. Whatever path you're on, when you're ready to try something more natural, we want to give education, quality, and value. So the value piece to us was a piece that was important to say, you know what? These products in these rooms are priced below the manufacturer. They're at a value so people can have access to them. Of course, I came from an industry where I certainly understand the price of a product and how that can hamper access. So I wasn't going to live that nightmare again. So again, it's just those three simple things of quality, education, and value that was the cornerstone of our business plan, because we're solving a problem that says we want everyone to feel comfortable coming into this store. And whether you buy or you don't, that's okay, but that you'll sit down with us, whether it's here up front, and go through those three things and then walk you through the journey, because we are invested in your journey to wellness.
I like it.
Yep.
I like it. No, I really appreciate that explanation there, Scott. So, what do you have to add to that?
I really don't. I mean, look, I think there's a reason why I passed the mic, right? Because somebody who has to stand in front of hundreds of people and sell them a herpes cream or whatever it is that they got to sell, right?
True story.
By the way, true story. I mean, has done this before. You know what I mean? You've done that presentation before, right? That's a super important thing for people. That was a shitty dig, but I get it. But I mean, Nick said it better than I mean, who could say it better than that, right? And I think on top of that, I think the only thing that I would probably add is the fact that we understand that the confusing part that Nick talked about. People are confused. Like, we understand that it looks the same, it smells the same, it tastes the same, it feels like we're doing something wrong. And this is why you don't have to sign in on a sign sheet and walk through a door, right, to make you feel like, when I walk out of here, am I getting arrested? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, like, there's super important things, right? But we not only is everything soil to oil here, everything is USA grown hemp. It's so important that people know what it takes to grow hemp. And we were fortunate enough to be a part, or to have partners in the Edmondson family, Scott Edmondson and Michelle Edmondson, and they own ENS Hemp Company in Greenville and Farmers Direct. And they have literally launched us. From an education standpoint, from a farming standpoint. Scott is battling cancer right now, so I want to give him a shout out. He has esophagus cancer. He's near and dear to us. I love him like a brother, and his family is super special to me. But they were the linchpin for us. I mean, they educated us more than we could ever be educated. They also hooked us up with a lot of our manufacturers, right? But what they told us is the quality, right? It comes down, the quality piece is huge. I can educate you on hemp all day long. But if you're not getting quality hemp, if you're getting gas station hemp, if you're getting stuff from other countries, if you're getting, like, if you don't know where the isolates and distillates are coming from, your experience with CBD could be one time. And you're like, didn't do anything for me. We've had a lot of people come to the store, says, hey, we rolled the dice, we did it, prove us wrong, because it didn't do anything for me. And we welcome those challenges. We welcome them. I open arms. Because we know that if you have a pain problem, an anxiety problem, a sleep problem, a balance problem, a depression problem, intestinal, a health problem, whatever it is, whatever your CB1 or your CB2 receptor inside your endocannabinoid system is acting up, we got the solution for you. You can soak in a bath, you can put it under your tongue, you can eat it until you're blue in the face, you can smoke it until you've smoked enough. Okay. But I promise you, the quality of the stuff you're getting from Trek CBD will beat everybody.
Definitely. So actually, my mom, she's come up here with me and Nick, and before that, she had purchased, I think, something. It might have been off Amazon, wherever, and I told her, I said, hey, those products are not vetted the same as the folks that I know. and I said, why don't we go check it out? And so that was one of the main differences is when she came up here, you know, the quality of the product, as well as the fact that you guys say, you know, soil to oil, was much better than the watered down whatever the heck was going on Amazon. And, you know, of course, there were better results. You know, the expectations were better. Nick sat down with her. He answered questions. So everything you're saying right there is one of the main reasons why I believe she's seeing, you know, different things than she was seeing before. But one of the main questions I have for you guys is primarily because you were in pharmaceuticals, you were in wireless, you decided to go into CBD and start a small business. But, you know, why not just buy a franchise? Why not just make it easy and go that direction?
I love it. You know, I think when we started this whole thing, right, the majority of what surrounds us is franchises, right? I think when we got that spark ignited into us that night at Lone Rider, and we were just hot about this thing, there was not a single franchise, and is not a single franchise, so I'm going to get fired up about this, that could have delivered the experience that we're delivering today, or, you know what, given us the level of control that we want. When we say level of control, yeah, I mean, we take this business, we're really passionate about this, but we're serious about, we don't want somebody telling us what we have to carry in our store. As a matter of fact, it's like everything else. We've brought products into the store where after a while, through customer feedback and whatnot, we've moved out, right? And we moved new ones in, but we didn't want a franchise saying, which is what they do basically, right? It's like, hey, we got a great deal on this product, right? So you're going to push it in your store basically, regardless, right? Because we're the franchise telling you what to do. So it was a lot of things behind that, but I mean, our passion was so high for what our vision was that nobody could have met that vision, so we had to go out and create it ourselves. Oddly enough, it's funny, if you could pan this camera around tonight, the majority of the people that come into the store say one thing. They're like, well, you're a franchise, right? And we're like, well, no, what do you mean? We're not a franchise at all. We built this from the ground up, right? Exactly what Gavin was talking about. Right? We did the market research, like, but you're branded like a franchise. You look like a professional franchise. And I'm like, well, that's one part of what franchising is about, right? But for us, it was about, we would not settle for a less than outstanding customer experience. That's our bar. We set it really high, really high. And well, we have, what, 35 five-star reviews on Google after just about 5 months, and we really haven't been asking for them, but they just keep organically popping up. And every time you read one, honestly, you take a step back, and I'm so humbled. I'm like, wow. I'm so glad that, you know, all the work we put into this is being seen by our customers. But that's the reason we get up every day. That's the drive. That's why we do it every single day. Retail's not easy. I mean, I'm finding this out for the first time, right? I was in pharmaceuticals and I worked my tail off in that industry, but retail's not easy. But when you have that purpose and you have that vision, to answer your question directly, we could never have found this somewhere else, right? And maybe one day we'll be looking for people to partner with us who have the same passion and first and foremost can deliver that level of customer service, because what we look for in employees and people we partner with is, first off, don't worry if you know nothing about CBD, right? You got to be passionate about helping people. You got to be passionate about delivering customer service. And if you're that, let's sit down and talk. And maybe one day, you know, we'll be, you know, I don't know if it's a franchise or whatever you're going to call it, but we'll have Trek CBD stores that aren't owned by Scott and I, but they're owned by a group of passionate entrepreneurs that want to deliver that experience, but put the best products in front of their customers, right? And that'll be a collaboration, right, versus a franchise.
Hell of a sales call, wasn't it? Boy, he turned that into a sales call at the end, didn't he?
Boom.
I got nothing else. Exclamation point. That's it.
You just co-signing on that one?
Co-signing on it.
Right. I like
Yeah. You want to be a part of something great, come hit us up.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we know if we want to get Nick fired up, just have to mention franchise.
Premium partners is what we're going to call them. Yeah.
So, you know, just to piggyback on what you just said, I mean, you mentioned vision. So what does the vision look like for the company, you know, post-corona, after we're through this rough spot, and, you know, as far as the bigger picture, what do you see you guys going and growing?
Wow. Imagine this, right? Two guys who have mortgages, car payments, colleges, kids. Shit, we're screwed, right? I mean, at the end of the day, right? We don't have a job. We don't have a job in 2019. We're trying to figure life out. Neither one of us are working. We're like, what are we going to do with the rest of our lives? Look, I think just imagine that, and then you open a retail business in December. Man, the city of Wake Forest just grabbed us and just launched us. I mean, the reception that we got from our business model, we never would have expected it, right? It launched us. And we built some amazing relationship with our guests that come in these stores. And then March hits and coronavirus, right? Here we are, December 8th.
Yeah.
January's a great month. February, let's kick some ass. March, we had our grand opening. Literally, on the 7th of March, we had our grand opening.
Oh, wow.
Literally.
I mean, food truck, blood drive, you name it, we had it. The week later, coronavirus. Everybody stay home. Man, what a serious situation. We just put our business to the side, to be honest with you. And Nick and I were like, how are we going to adapt to? Yeah, I will. Okay. But I'm gonna, how are we going to adapt to this? Because this is bigger than us. Like, people are dying over this, right?
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
I don't care what your political view is on it. Like, people are legitimately dying over this. Like, we're not going to complain about not being able to operate our business.
Right.
So we just continued with our business, right? Man, people are anxious about this thing, right? So, hey, CBD is a natural way to help that. So we're delivering to people's homes every single day. We're going out there, we're getting it done. Then our friends with blue lights, which we enjoy and we love them, show up and shut us down. Said, you're non-essential. I said, well, I think our customers would disagree. He says, we don't care. Like, you're non-essential. I said, well, sir, we're going to have to figure this out. He's like, well, you've got no time to figure it out. Like, you got to close today. And I'm like, we agree to disagree, boss. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine. Fortunately, Nick jumped on right away with the County of Wake Forest. And I want to give the County of Wake Forest a shout out because they stuck true to their word. They were on TV and they said hemp businesses were going to be deemed essential. Okay. And for whatever reason that we weren't, we were able to open up back up in 36 hours. So kudos to Wake County and the state of North Carolina, right? But the question is how do you power through all this, right? We powered through it by just staying connected to our customer base, by staying true to who we were, by giving back to the community that we continuously give back to the community, by finding ways to support local businesses, by finding ways to support local restaurants, the ones that we're able to do. Like, we just stayed connected. And people appreciated it, and we're on a referral-based business at this point. But your first 6 months of retail, right, is a referral-based business. Yeah. If I deliver an experience to your mom, Ryan, your mom's going to go out there and tell everyone or at least 10 people what a great experience she had. If I drop the ball, I'm done. Done. Especially, look, you see how big Ryan is? You can imagine this? Yeah, and he's a military veteran. You're screwed at
one time, he does a lot of things, right?
But we just stayed true to who we were, and we just powered through. We powered through. We had curbside. We had signs out there that said "pull up." We walk it out. I put tons of miles on my car delivering to people's houses. Right. Nice. Nick has done the same thing. Like, we adapted to the situation and we went through. But more importantly, it allowed us to sustain where, we got our good friends over here, Synergy Color Bar, next to us, who didn't have the same experience. And she's got 8 great women, Cindy does, who do amazing work, who couldn't work. So we weren't going to sit on our pity pot. we're going to make it happen. You know what I mean? So to answer your question is, we just powered through, and we powered through with grace, and we powered through with humbled that we were able to continue to do it. But to your point, we're ready to roll. If there's any brokers out there that run any kind of grocery store strip centers or any kind of strip center that's looking for 1,000 square foot tenant, we'll open stores tomorrow. Nice. We're in that position right now. Nice. And we're in that position because of the people of Wake Forest and because of our customer base and because of you guys like you guys who believed in us and continued us forward. We're in that position right now. To be able to just let's open more stores. Let's serve more people. Let's deliver the same experience that the great people of Wake Forest are getting in Cary, in Fuquay, and in Garner, in Clayton, wherever we got to go, in Raleigh, in Youngsville. Let's deliver that experience. We're ready. So to your point, we powered through, but we're ready to roll.
That's
fantastic.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I like that, Scott, especially because, like, my mom lives like an hour away. I live 30 minutes away.
Yep.
So you guys expanding, like, that's fantastic. More than likely in the recorded version of the show, I'll have, like, a pan of your storefront because it reminds me of what like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about with the customer experience and how they come into the store and how people act. I believe that yours caters to that customer action and that customer interaction. I think that's fantastic from like a marketing standpoint. But I think I might have mentioned to Nick a very, very tiny CBD venture that I had taken at one point. Very tiny, primarily focused on veterans for obvious reasons. But one of the hurdles I found was payment processors because I use Shopify for most of my websites. It's very easy to use, and I know Liquid, which is the language they use. And I come to find out that there was only 2 payment processors that would handle CBD sales. And so that was one of the roadblocks that I run into. But I'm curious because CBD is somewhat regulated, somewhat unregulated. What roadblocks and hurdles you guys have seen and how you overcame those?
Okay, again, I'm a sales guy. Hey, Nick had a sales role. I'm the sales guy, right? But I do want to say one thing, though, Ryan, and I don't see it on our sheet of questions of what we're going to go through, so I want to bring it up right now. Nick and I are super passionate about value. We talk about this with, and he's going to answer the question if you remember it by the time I'm done. Military veterans. Man, we're passionate about military veterans. My brother's a military veteran. His dad's a military veteran. If you call the Navy military, do you guys call it Navy military, Ryan, in your book? Yeah. Just not Coast Guard. All right.
Hoping the Coast Guard are watching.
So, hey, John, if you're listening, you're on the USS Nimitz, you're still good. If the boat's any smaller than a carrier, Ryan doesn't recognize him. But all military veterans, active or not active, get 25% off always at Trek CBD. I hope you know that. I'm sure you do. All senior citizens, 65 and over, get 20% off always at Trek CBD. All first responders and their families get 20% off always at Trek CBD. And I just want to say that because you brought up the military, and I don't see it in our list of things, but those are the people, right? We call it pave the way discount. Those people paved the way for us. The military, by far, with the biggest discount, paves the way for us. Right. We couldn't do what we're doing if we didn't get the freedoms from what, you know what I mean, guys like you did, Ryan. Yep. So I don't know how many people say this on your podcast, but if I'm the first or the last, I just want to tell you we appreciate everything you did for us because we know it's not easy, man. I mean, you signed your life on a line to do something to protect what, what I enjoyed, and sometimes I took it for granted and ran with it like a child, and sometimes I appreciated it and celebrated it, right? But I don't think we celebrated it enough. So thank you for doing what you did.
I just want to vouch for the fact that Scott fully embraces freedom of speech, and we want to thank you for empowering him to do that, right? I mean, so that's one of our liberties in this country, and liberty doesn't come for free, right? But I want to tell you, he's wearing it out, right? I mean, that's great. That's great. But back to the question. Oh, so the question was roadblocks, right? The question was roadblocks. Yeah. What entrepreneur doesn't have roadblocks, right? We left that Lone Rider night all giddy, only to find these amazing retail spaces, and they're like, "Oh yeah, so tell me about your business." "Oh, we're going to open up a hemp-based." "Forget it. We're not going to lease to you here." "Okay, why? Our money's not good? What's the matter?" I'm like, "What's going on here?" That's it. So, shout out, we finally got smart. Shout out to John Bradley at Avison and Young. He's been our commercial realtor, and he's finding us. Not only finding us properties, he's breaking down barriers in terms of that. So that was one of the first hurdles we kind of jumped through. But payment processing, you mentioned it, right? So we're all excited about this, right? And nobody wants to process your cash. And we're sitting here, your credit cards rather, and we're sitting here saying to ourselves, wait a minute. In 2018, the Farm Bill made hemp federally legal. right?
Yeah.
Marijuana is only legal, as we all know, in certain states, right?
Right.
But hemp is in all 50, right? All 50 states legal. So what's the problem, right? Because banks are conservative, right? And they kind of lump you into that whole umbrella of cannabis overall. We were lucky to get involved with Square. So shout out to Square on this one. And they took us into their pilot program. We were at the right time in the right place. Where they took us in, they have our point of sale system. They have our credit card processing. But that was it. I mean, that was it. So you think about our website, everything. But you think about hurdles. This is a very different business. So as much as passion as we have, as strong as our business plan was, banks were saying no to us. By the way, not just for processing, meaning like, we don't want you to put your money in this bank. We're like, well, wait a minute, what's the matter with our money here? I was like, what's the matter? So we finally found a relationship that we fell in love with, and it's suiting us well today from a banking perspective, but it is challenged. But what I would say to any entrepreneur out there, and I'm sure you would echo this as well too, is, don't let the no's get in your way, right? I mean, we were told no, until we finally got a yes, right? And we couldn't get financing, so we had to do investor calls, right, with people that we're going to raise capital with, friends, family, business acquaintances, and we found an amazing relationship with an investor that believed in our vision. But I'm going to say, I don't think we're special. I think CBD is a little bit more challenging, but I'm sure if I talk to the guy that had a dream to open a pizza restaurant, right, he's facing maybe different challenges, right, but on a totally different scale too, around that too. So to answer your question more directly, it's just, for us, it was the vision, it was our passion that drove the vision that would not let us take no. We just had to find the right person to say yes on all those fronts.
Right, absolutely, and a big part of being an entrepreneur or being successful at anything, I'm sure, even in your prior careers, was just being relentless and staying resilient. Even if you get a no, that's not the last no.
Get way more no's than you do.
Right, or you're not doing it right.
More yeses than no's. You're not doing it right.
That's right. You're not working hard
doing
enough.
it right. Yeah. Right. Any salesperson knows that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in regards to the actual brand itself, like in terms of Trek CBD, where did the name come from, or who came up with that?
I think it was a collaborative experience. It was kind of like one of those what. All right, come on. It was one of those.
Right, who's taking credit?
All right. So here's the thing, right? So we both kicked around names, right? So it was collaborative, right? All right. And then for me, I wanted something that was just short and sweet, like like Uber, right? So we kind of kicked around all these ideas. We wanted to speak to wellness, and Trek came about, right? And if the Trek bicycle people are listening right now, right? We kind of kicked around. We love you guys. And we feel like we're in the same thing, right? You guys are wellness, we're wellness, right? But we came up with two things around the name, right? No, exactly. Trek is about the journey to wellness, you guys. We talked about that before, but that's what it's about, right? We debated for a while because so many of our businesses do hemp as part of their name. They say hemp. And people are confused, like we talked about before. So when you throw hemp at them, one person came in one time and was like, so is this like rope I got to like chew on? And we're like, no, it's not that. Because people think about hemp like from back in the day, hemp fiber, makes ropes and whatnot. So we came to a painful decision to say, as much as it might hurt us, it's going to benefit us in the long run to have CBD in our name. Right. And when I say hurt us, it does sometimes. And when you're doing advertising on digital advertising, when you're doing banking and whatnot, the CBD has a certain perception to it. So, but we decided, you know what? This is who we are, essentially. This is who we are. So we're going to put it in the name because people are already confused enough. They don't want to come in here and say, what do you guys sell on ropes, bikes, whatever. We're Trek CBD, right?
Yeah, and I think, just real quick on that, I think it will. The other piece was important for us was to be proud of what we're doing. Right. To not hide behind anything, right? To be super proud of what we're doing and just put it out there. And I'll tell you guys a quick story. So our landlord here, great guy, by the way, Jeff. Love you, Jeff, if you're watching. I know we know rent's due by the 10th. But he says, what are you guys putting on the outside of the building? Country guy, right? Jeff. He's been in Wake Forest his whole life. What y'all gonna put on the outside of the building? And I'm like, shit. Trek Vitality?
That's our parent company.
Which is our parent company, and he goes, well, that's stupid. How does anybody gonna know you guys selling CBD? I'm like, so we could put CBD outside? He goes, isn't that what you're selling? I'm like, thank you, Jeff. Thank you. That's, hey, literally, we thought, I'm not gonna lie. Is this a true story? This is probably a 5-beer story, which we're probably gonna get those
We
afterwards.
thought we were going to be paying for a bigger sign, basically.
We thought we had to pay for this huge sign, and he's like, "No, you guys should." He goes, "I really think that you guys should put Trek CBD on the outside of the building." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, thank you for that."
Yeah, we agree.
Well, the only reason we did that was because the other 2 spaces that we had said, "Yeah, well, you guys can rent our spot. You just can't put that you sell CBD on the outside of the building." And I'm like, "What's the point? I mean, do yogurt shops just put we don't sell yogurt here? I mean, like, what do you want me to do?" And they're like, "Well, look, here's the deal. We'll lease you the spot, but you can't have CBD externally or internally in your store. Signage." I'm like, "We're out." Jeff Looper, you're the man. Born and raised Wake Forest. Super proud of what we're doing here, and super proud to have him as a landlord. So just wanted to give him a shout out on that story.
So that's interesting that you talk about, you know, what you're selling on the outside of the store, because, you know, oftentimes that's what draws people in.
Right.
You know, so it's like if you can't tell people exactly what business you're in, then how are you supposed to attract customers?
Right.
Lucky for me, I've seen your ads and some of your marketing in other places, so I'm really happy that I was able to be drawn up here through that stuff. But
That's why Ryan's in consulting. Did you hear that?
I just really like networking, and obviously, you know, being someone who holds a podcast, you know, being able to talk to people in different industries is pretty exciting to me. But I think our next question is, because, you know, you guys talked about how you got started, where you came from, you know, what brought you to this point. And you own your own company, so you're in charge of the products you sell and kind of what that looks like. But what makes that different, you know, from other CBD stores? What makes that different from a CBD franchise?
You know, the fair question is we don't know, and neither does the customer. Right? We don't. I mean, we could white label everything in here. And whatever I tell you has to be the truth, because you don't know. But what I do know is you could go on the Honest Paws website for pets and get any kind of information you've ever wanted about Honest Paws for pets. You could go on the website for Green Roads, CBD Distillery, Lazarus, Pachamama, Kush Queen, R&R, Outre, you name it, right? And get as much information as you possibly want, right? These are reputable hemp-based companies. That's what I do know. You cannot debate that. You go on their website, their COAs are on there, the information, how it's grown, how it's done, how organic it is, how it's, you know what I mean, how it's bottled, everything. And it's not the most profitable way to do this business, guys. I mean, our margins are eroded by 20 to 30% by doing it the way we do it. We could go in here, white label this entire thing, and make a ton of money in this store. We could.
Good. Yeah.
You want to stop me right now?
No, it's a funny story.
But we're not.
Yep.
Because our customers walk through that door and they say, "What do you got?" And 9 out of 10, we could sell them whatever we wanted to sell them, but we don't. Everybody goes on the journey. If you ask any one of our customers, Aline, who painted this beautiful picture behind you guys, to our youngest customer who comes in here because he's got situational anxiety, they know they took the journey. Everybody walked the store. You came from the car business, Gavin. You know about walking the lot.
Yep, absolutely.
We walk the store,
Right.
and we go shelf by shelf by shelf to explain to them what the benefits are. And I think that's what draws people to Trek CBD, is the fact. And by the way, not everybody that walks through this door buys from us.
Right.
But they do go home after they get a ton of information. They come back in and go, "Wow, this CBD distillery company is on the top of their game right now. Wow, this Pachamama company, how are you guys even able to carry them?" Like they're only in like 4 stores nationwide. You know what I mean? You can't even get Pachamama everywhere, but they're on the top of the game because it's just as selective as Trek CBD is. Pachamama is.
Right. Sure,
right.
Common thread.
And that's the common thread, right? So I think that's where we're at with this. And Nick's going to share a story, which is probably going to be super offensive to most of the viewers, but I feel like I know what the story is, so I can't wait for it to happen.
It might be offensive to some, but it could be a lesson to others. So let's just look at it from a learning opportunity, right? So if you think about this, so we're doing our market research, right? We're going into franchises, and to answer your question more directly, it's like, what makes you different than a franchise? Well, we go into this franchise one day. It was a kind of a smaller shop. We kind of walk in the front door, and there's a nice woman sitting behind a retail counter, right? Sitting there on a stool. Didn't get up, didn't come up to see us at all, okay? Just kind of let us browse the shop, which is fine. No judgment there or whatever. We have a different approach, like to meet people at the front door, right? But when we asked her, we're like, this is a franchise, right? Why are you here? Well, it's a job, right? And we asked her another question, and we said, are you passionate about CBD? Said, no, not at all. So part of me is like, wow, man, I really value that honesty in that person. And then part of me is like, my God, if this was my business, I'd be dying right now, right? Behind this. So the franchise thing to me speaks about a couple of things, at least in that example. And this is one example, just to be fair to the audience out there, one example. But sometimes people buy a franchise because they just want to drop an employee in there and they just want to watch the money kind of roll in, basically.
Right.
That's not us, right? That franchise chose that. We chose to build this from the ground up. And by the way, right now the experience is dependent upon Scott and I, but we're looking to hire people. As a matter of fact, we're doing interviews this week, but we're going to be looking for people like Scott and myself. Not people that started off with a business plan about CBD, but people that are just unrelenting about customer service, about meeting people at the front door, about listening, taking time to learn from them, basically what their needs are, and then if we have one, delivering a solution around that. But that's the story, and I think that's the risk of any franchise, basically, right? Because they're not owner-based on site. And whether you're the person greeting the customer or not, you're not instilling that passion in your employees every single day.
Right, absolutely. And
Good-looking socks.
those are pretty good looking socks. I like those. Pretty nice. Just in regards to that, you talked about the margins a little bit earlier. So, in a time where retail seems to be dying or is a little bit more challenging, given Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and all the other things that are out there, why open up actual retail space versus going directly e-commerce, given the business climate that we're in?
I think from my background in the wireless, right, Verizon mostly, right, so premium, right, premium brand. You probably don't get any more premium than Verizon. Plug to Verizon. You guys sponsor me. But when you look at it, right, people ask that about wireless all the time. iPhone customer buys a new iPhone.
Right.
Samsung customer buys a new Samsung. Like, you get it, right? I can keep going through them, but you understand what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But Verizon keeps retail open because people buy because they want to be informed. People buy because they want an experience. People pay for the experience. You can get almost the same burger or steak at most steaks or burger places. But if the experience is better, you'll pay more. Right? And I think that's where we're at, right? And we've kind of flipped that on its head because we deliver an experience and you'll pay less, which we're super proud of. Yep. Extremely proud of. Our Trek CBD Triplicity 750 is our #1 selling oil in our entire store. First, and then second is Pachamama. But at $69, $750 oil, it has the highest reorder rate that we could possibly have. And because of the value and the quality and the experience they get, people are like, I can stick to this, right? So to your point is why brick and mortar? Brick and mortar is important because people want to be educated. When I started in wireless business back in the day when everybody had a flip phone, and the new smartphone came out, and the first customer came to me and said, "Hey, could you put my email on this thing?" I'm like, "What? They haven't even trained us how to do this yet." So, and then it evolved. Nobody ever thought the evolution of the smartphone was going to get to where it was at. No, never, right? Like, but there was a need, and you had to complete that need, right? And we do the same thing here at Trek CBD. The confusion the distraction, the misinformation, the bad products out there are all relevant things, just like any other specialty retail space. At Trek CBD, we clear all the noise out. We take the noise, we move it completely out. We talk to you about your situation, and we provide a solution that's going to best suit your situation. And that's why I think you can't do that e-commerce. I mean, chat boxes are cool. I fixed my son's PlayStation the other day through a chat box. Two-step verification, apparently. Yeah, look at Ryan's like, yeah. Oh, God. I went through that the other day. That's great. But it wasn't an experience. We deliver an experience at Trek CBD, and I think that's what our customers love. You wanted to add something?
I just want to add something just to back up what you said, and just to speak to the entrepreneurs out there from an analytical perspective, right? So everything that Scott's saying, and it's hard not to get in a room with Scott and feel the passion about the customer experience, but look it up. There was an article in Forbes not too long ago that talked about the retailers that are going to survive are the ones that deliver an experience, not just a service or a good, an experience. Also, when we did our market research on this, and I would challenge any entrepreneur out there, no matter what category you're in, there's plenty of market research firms. We use the Brightfield Group, basically, but they do exhaustive market and customer research. And it said that because of the education needed and the confusion in this category right now, there was going to be a shift from what was right now either online, right, to retail over the next 5 years, because it's hard to get, like Scott said, your questions answered, by, an online chat portal or whatever. So we do it every single day. We do it with our customers that are not in the store. But that's what I would say too, just for the analytics out there, just do the research. And if the research supports your category, then you're ready for when lightning's going to strike, basically, right? So that's how we kind of came across that whole thing.
That's fantastic, man. That insight, especially from someone who needs to market their business, I believe is extremely valuable. One of the questions I have for you is, basically, I told you the first time I walked in your store that it kind of reminded me of Gary Vaynerchuk in the way that he would stand at the counter and watch how people came into the wine store, how they interacted inside the store, what they bought and stuff like that. So I'm curious about both of you, like when you work the store, the customer experience, how that applies to you, and what your goal is when handling customers who walk into the store.
Yeah, so everything in the store that we set up aligned to the market research we did in our business plan. Meaning if you're curious and you're confused, we're going to set up a store that addresses that, right? So from the second you walk into the store, we can't pan the camera around, but you see the tables that are set up to immediately, we meet you at the door, but immediately answer your educational needs, right? Then we, like Scott said before, we walk you through, we understand your needs, first of all, I should say, before anything else. Why are you here? Do you happen to fall into one of the three categories in terms of anxiety, insomnia? Are you looking to relieve your pain? Whatever it is, or is it something else? We get to know you on that level. We get to know your name. I mean, how many times do you walk into a retailer these days where they don't even come from behind the retail sales counter, the cash wrap? They don't even bother to get your name. So we just believe in, I guess, two things, right? We believe in strategically aligning the design of our store to the research that we did, but we also believe in good old-fashioned customer service. Right? We're gonna walk you through the store. We're gonna shake your hand. Pre-corona, sorry. Pre-corona. We're gonna do a chicken wing right now. Okay, just to be sure. Nobody lose their mind out there. Okay. Nobody lose their mind. We're gonna do a chicken wing right now, or not. Okay. But then after the experience, we're gonna walk you out the door too. We're gonna open the door for you and walk you out the door. Right? Through the whole thing. We get personal with our customers. We remember our customers. We remember what's going on in their lives because we take the time to get to know it. Essentially there. That's the thing. We invest time in that. And that's, like I said, we then strategically walk them through the store to answer whatever their question was. If you walk in and say, it's all about pain for me, we talk about how CBD works with your body and your endocannabinoid system in the CB1 and the CB2 receptors. Then we walk you through how a pain cream or how an oil can help you from the inside out or the outside in. And then we also let you try some of our products. So it's not just about rushing you into a sale. It's about, hey, let's try this, right? All of our oils have different flavor profiles. And as much as flavor is not the main driver, bottom line is if you don't like the taste of something, you're not going to stick with it. If you're not going to stick with it, you're not going to get relief. If you're not going to get relief, then the reason you came into the store, you're just going to end up being disappointed, right? I mean, and that's it. We always talk to customers about this is a journey about time in milligrams. Meaning time is you got to give CBD probably about 4 weeks. Take it daily for 4 weeks if you're treating pain. Milligrams, it's different for everybody. So after about 4 weeks, do you need to go up in milligrams? Do you need to stay where you are in milligrams? But we'll help you along that journey. But that's what kind of sets apart that experience differently, and that's how we set up the store to deliver that. It wasn't an accident, right? We set up a store that would deliver on the exceptional customer service we were going for, and then for Scott and I, it's easy right now, right, to align on what those are. But when we have an employee, we'll take the time to invest in them and make sure that we're all aligned on, hey, what does it look like when a customer comes into the store?
So being my retail background, and I'll let you get to it, Gavin, here in a second, but being my retail background, we had sayings, right? Everything was a saying. So 2 feet from the door, always on the floor. Like if a customer got 2 feet from that front door and we weren't greeting them, there's a problem, right? So we do that. Never greet from your seat, right? Because this is called a transaction counter.
Right.
And in my mind, transaction means how much does it cost me and how quick can I get out of here?
Right.
Right? So everything we do is on the floor. I learned this deeply from two of my counterparts, Preston Bennett and Ali Ayabi, that everything that happens that makes sense happens on the floor. And that's why we set the store up the way we set the store. That's why the experience is the way the experience is, right? You go to some stores, and the entire time you're with that rep, they're behind whatever it is they're showing you. We want to be in front of what we're showing you. I want to be next to you, Gavin, or your mom, or your sister, or your mother, or your brother, whoever it is. I want to be next to them saying, how do you think that makes you feel? Put this pain cream on your knee that's already hurting. Does it make you feel good? 850 milligrams of Pachamama pain cream. Does it make you feel good? Taste this oil that we have. Triplicity has 0 taste. 750 has terpene taste. Goji berry. Green tea echinacea. How does that make you feel? Right? That's what we want to do. And I learned that from some great people. And Nick's learned that from some great experiences he's had being surrounded by a lot of great people. And I think what's super important is that customers understand, if anybody gets anything from this podcast, I want them to understand one thing: they're first. Nothing else matters in this store other than their experience. And if we don't deliver on it, their visit's free. Whatever it be, they bought a product or they didn't buy a product, their visit's free. That's what they need to know.
Ryan, is it okay, or Gavin, is it okay if I talk about how you and I met for a second? So I think it ties into this conversation real quick.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So you put something on Facebook, right? You put something on Facebook that said, look, does anybody need help with sales consulting, right? It was just a generic thing, right?
Yep.
And one of the things that Scott and I believe in, right, is synergies through partnerships. Like, we're always looking to, like, when the corona hit, we probably spent a lot of our social media postings were about helping other businesses. We did a contest, right? We did a contest right out of the gate that said, if you visit, top 20 of the restaurants in the area, we'll give you out of our own pocket a gift card, right? Just visit there, have dinner with them, show us your receipts, we'll give you a $250 gift card for that, right? So when you and I met, I'm like, we just started a conversation and said, hey, man, I'd love to get to know you, and you get to know me. And then we started off by talking about CBD, and we started talking about podcasts. And I'm like, man, this is somebody I just want in my life.
I think the number one thing I would like to add to that is that I was offering free sales consulting calls to small businesses, and you reached out and you were like, I'm not going to turn down anything for free.
Hell no.
And,
Hell no.
And that was my goal. My goal was to offer that free support to people who needed it. And even though you guys have probably combined 3 to 5 times the experience that I have, the value that I believe I gained from that relationship, obviously we're doing this podcast now, but that was my goal. My goal was to help people. And so meeting you and being able to set this all up, I believe was well worth the 15-minute phone call.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I feel the same way when it's landed back on me, right? And when I think about that, and that's probably why I got so passionate before about the anti-franchising model, because I don't want to just be a franchise that takes people's money and sets them off in a boat and says, call me when you need something, right? So if we ever did something like that, it'd be different, but it's not why I'm getting into this conversation. I'm passionate about building synergies, right, through partnerships. So entrepreneurs that are listening tonight, if you've got a retail store, any business whatsoever, if you listen to this podcast, you're like, you know, I'd love to just rap with these two guys because they were inspired. Give us a call, man. Not all four of us, right? All four of us, right? Just give us a call, because you know what? It's about helping others. And whether it's in the CBD space, whether it's in the retail space, whether it's in another business, plumbing and electrical, and you want to talk about the customer experience in your business, how to acquire people, we'd be happy to talk, and we will take our time to do that, because that's what we really mean, and that's who we are as business owners.
So, you know, with any business partnership, it's very similar to a marriage. So how do you guys make this marriage work?
We don't, actually. Why did you hand me the mic? Look, I think I told Nick the story the other day. I had a great couple in here the other day, and I was going through the entire product line with them. I'm tattooed, and most of the time I'm wearing shorts, and my legs are tattooed. And I felt the vibe wasn't like I was gonna have to earn this one. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which is fine. I'm 100% okay with it. And I'm going through the whole store, and I said, hey, look, all I know is my partner and my best friend, Nick. And when I say partner, sometimes people don't understand what we're saying, but my business partner, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And it has come up multiple times. It doesn't matter. We're not. I mean, look, I love it. Love you, man. Yeah, but I said he specifically designed this triplicity. It's a very important formula. It's a full spectrum 750 oil with 60 more of CBC and 40 more of CBG. Designed around pain, inflammation. A lot of research going on around now on CBG and how it's going to help with cancer and all that, right? They're like, well, what qualified him to do that? And I'm like, well, he worked for GSK Pharmaceuticals for like 20. Oh, we'll take it.
I don't think that's a qualification.
I'm like, what the hell just happened right now? It's been an hour and a half. Oh, he worked for GSK Pharma. Yep. Yeah, he's credible. I'm like, well, he sold Viagra. Or Valtrex, or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was Valtrex.
Both of it, yeah, all of it.
Shout out to GSK, there you go.
Yeah, shout out GSK. But it was like, I'm like, he's not, all right, whatever. I mean, if you guys want it. But the point is, 3 times they've been in since then. 3 months in a row, they've re-upped because it's helped her with her inflammation, back pain from a back surgery, and it catapulted. But my point is it's the give and take that we have. I have a retail background, right? And Nick's never been in the retail world. So Nick leans on me for that retail world stuff. And I lean on him for that very methodical, very analytical research stuff, right? Like Nick understands the business. He understands the CBD world and where it's going, because Nick will stand in front of his computer for hours and learn. And just learn. That's what he does. And his wife, Katie, allows him to do it while she's become a homeschool teacher. You know what I mean? And my wife understands that I have the personality of retail personality, right? So she understands we got to brand our car, we got to do all these things, where Nick's like, you do all that stuff, I'm glad you're doing that stuff, but just don't speed or run red lights and do these things. And so, I mean, I say all this comically to say we complement each other.
We do. Yeah, I mean,
we very much complement each other. We're 2 different worlds, by the way. Yeah. East Coast, West Coast, Patriots fan, whatever. You know what I mean? Doesn't really matter at this point. He lost his quarterback. Doesn't matter. I mean, by the way, Boston stole the World Series. I'm going to say this on this podcast right now. I'm a Dodger fan, and Boston did not get penalized for stealing the World Series from the Dodgers. Doesn't matter. But I think we know our strengths, and we just feed off them, Gavin, to be honest with you. I know his strength. He knows my strength. We work. Hey, by the way, we've had knockdown dragouts, and we're going to keep having knockdown dragouts. You know what I mean? We're passionate about our purpose, and we're going to keep having those. But they're so healthy. We come out of them way better than we went into them.
You've seen it tonight, though. You've seen it tonight, and I think this is always the cornerstone of a good marriage, right? Is that, you know, number one, I think we're enough we're enough alike, but enough opposite to make it work in that aspect. But Scott's very humble. I mean, he'll pass the mic when he needs to, and I'll pass the mic when I need to. I mean, Scott's. I think you're probably too humble for yourself. I mean, you take not enough credit for things, but at the end of the day, I'm like, that's what makes a good relationship and a good marriage, is that we know how to play off each other's strengths, right? And that's what's made this whole thing so special. But I will say this. I mean, this is gonna come off, but I'm just gonna say it. But it's great. It's great to be in business, like a marriage, right, with somebody you genuinely want to see every single day, right? I know, but I see her too every single day too. But I mean, that's what it is. It's.
I love you.
And I mean it. He knows this. I mean it sincerely. I love this guy over here, right? So I genuinely look forward to our discussions every single day. We have a great discussions, great partnership. So I think that's important, right? I mean, in terms of making it all work.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff. I mean, Jeff, our financial partner, great man.
There's a lot of Jeffs in our life.
Yeah,
He's there
that's
for
it,
us
Jeff.
when we need him. I mean, literally, shout out to Jeff. I'm sure he's watching because we posted it. You're a good dude, man.
So if I'm hearing you guys correctly, the partnership is it works because you both have different strengths, and you guys play off each other's strengths, and
Absolutely.
where one is lacking, the other one can fill in.
And we've both been married long enough where neither one of us are allowed to have egos.
Right. But we
that
can
a
for
book?
about 30 seconds. Enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah.
Isn't that a book? Ego is the enemy. Isn't that?
Ego's the enemy. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, guys. Once again, I really appreciate you guys letting us hold this show here. I think it provides for a nice setting.
Thank you.
A lot better than my home studio, that's for sure. I think mainly we want to wrap up with our 4 questions. They're magic 4. I'm sorry, I guess it's 3, but we'll have to go back and forth here. So
Yeah.
we'll start with you, Nick.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, we'll do it that way, but definitely. But when you're not in the store, you're not discussing with Scott CBD type stuff. Nick, what do you do for fun?
Yeah, I prioritized a long time ago that, as much time you're going to spend at work, and we all spend more time at work, whether you're an entrepreneur or an employee, right, that you got to balance. The other part is the most important part of your life, which is family, right? So for me, I gave up golf a long time ago. I don't go fishing. One of the biggest joys in my life is watching my kids play soccer. I have a 6-year-old. I have a soon-to-be 15-year-old and a soon-to-be 17-year-old. So I will be most happiest in the fall and the spring watching them play soccer. But then I will also be most happiest when we're just having a family meal together. I used to be a chef, so I love to cook, and we're just having a family meal together. We do squeeze in the occasional game night. It doesn't happen as much as I'd like, but I guess I realized that my oldest is going to be gone in a year. She's a rising senior right now. So it all kind of fades away, and she needs to have her own life. So I want to maximize as much time outside of this as I can. And to me, it's always been, like I'm sure it is for a lot of people out there, it's more about quality than quantity. Because if I ever would have said, over the years, we've all talked about it, no matter what your job is, work-life balance. I don't think it exists because work always has the more, right? But how you make the balance is by putting quality into the personal life. Right, because you got to do what you got to do to put food on the table, right? But when you're home, you're home. I really tried to always, throughout my career, is when I was leading sales teams, is build a culture where you don't answer emails after dinner. You know what I mean? So if you need to work after the kids go to bed, that's fine. But whatever works for you because you have to have that ratio of quality time with the family and time with your spouse and also time at work to make it all come together. So that's what I'm doing, man. If I'm not here, I'm spending time with the kids, chasing them around, and it's the best joy of my life.
Scott, what about you?
Oh, you don't want me to answer this question? No, I look. I'm gonna echo what Nick said, but I think for me, as much as I love it. I love every part about being at home. I love every part about being there for my kids now. I was an airplane rat, just like Nick was. We were on airplanes every single week, forever in our life, right? And for us to be home and do the sports, I got a 5-year-old who's the next Tom Brady for sure. I mean, this kid's phenomenal. I'm plugging it out there right now. By the way,
He's a Patriots reference.
and he's probably going to marry Ella. So he's probably marrying Nick's daughter, so it doesn't really matter. Nick wins. But then I have my other son. They're just super athletic. My kids are super athletic, just like Nick's are. So being in sports, I coach I-9 flag football here locally, competitive and recreational. That's my passion. My passion is sports. I grew up in a sports family. My dad's always coached me. My mom's always coached my sisters. And I want to coach my kids, and I never had a chance to do that prior to. No offense to where we came from, but that's the life we chose to live, you know? And now we get to do different things. So for me, it is about being able to be there for my kids. And my wife, my wife's a warrior. Katie's a warrior. His wife's a warrior. I mean, literally, when I say warrior, I mean like has raised kids on their own, like single parents, you know? And I give mad props to our wives, and I give mad props to our life, but I'm with Nick. I'm with Nick, Gavin. And Ryan, it's about spending time with the kids. It's about grinding it out. You know, my kids are one of the biggest supporters. They go around all day long. Hey, my dad owns Trek CBD around the neighborhood. They have no idea what it means, but they know we're doing something right. And so that's what I'm passionate about. I mean, that's my life.
I like it. So with anything, you know, I'm sure you guys are always on that constant personal development and growth. What content are you guys consuming currently, whether it be podcasts, books you're reading, YouTube shows you're following to help sharpen the iron there?
So you keep talking about Gary, and my son's like the biggest Gary fan on the planet, right? So
Not bigger than Ryan.
My son's doing well. My son's he's all about business and entrepreneurial studies. So my son is at University of Nebraska. This kid's going to be the president and CEO of a major corporation that he's going to own one day. I mean, my son Hunter is the real deal, right? He truly has a passion for it. A lot of it stems from my mentor, Kevin Tupy, who's mentored my son as well, and which is super cool. But because he's been around people like Preston Bennett's and Ollie Yabis and all these people, right? Like, he's been around a lot of great people. But I say all that to say this. The biggest inspiration for me is my dad. And my dad was a driver for the company that he worked for almost 50 years. He was a delivery driver, delivered radiator cores. My dad had no college education, went to the Army when he was 17 years old, prior to being an adult. Got out of the Army, had no education still other than military. And he started out in a warehouse, asked my mom to marry him during this warehouse event that he had. They went to the same high school, but my mom didn't know him because my mom was prom queen. My dad was a dirtbag, you know what I mean? So, at the time in high school. And so my mom had no idea who my dad was. And my dad stands on top of this thing and says, "Hey, I'm marrying Regina Brady," on a microphone. And my mom was like, "Chance in hell that's happening." They just happen to work at the same place. They've been married almost 50 years.
That's crazy.
But my dad went from driver to warehouse to vice president of the company.
Nice.
To Craig Manufacturing, which was one of the largest manufacturers, USA manufacturers of radiator cores. And my dad got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and didn't get home till 9 o'clock at night every morning, or every day, to provide for 5 kids, me, my 2 sisters, and 2 brothers. And there's nobody that's going to inspire me better than my dad.
Yeah.
That man did not care about anything else other than providing for his family, and still found time to coach me in soccer, to coach my brothers in baseball, to coach my sisters in softball, to help my mom do what she's got to do. By the way, my mom still works full time, right? So, I mean, this is like latchkey family all day long, you know what I mean? But my dad was a grinder, and he fought through alcoholism. He's been sober, I think, 32 years now. This is the 32nd year. And everything. So I love looking up to athletes. I love looking up to entrepreneurs. I love looking up to the Kevin Tupys and, you know what I mean, and the Rory Kellys and all these guys of the world, right? I love looking up to these guys. But I love looking at my dad going, this is what life's about.
Yeah.
Grind.
Yeah.
Just put your head down and grind it out.
Yeah.
Just go to work. Gavin, you just said, just go to work and figure it out.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
Yeah. Definitely. I think you covered it, man. you hit the nail on the head. Oftentimes people forget. I've worked with a lot of people who didn't care for that lifestyle. They were like, oh, we want to raise our voice, we want to cause problems, whatever. I've worked with plenty of other people who were like, hey, put your head down, go to work. And I think that was super important. But I think the most important question we ask on this show, and I want to ask this of each of you individually, if I can, and the company as Trek CBD, but where can people find you? So whether that be email, Facebook, whatever the case may be, what's the best place to get in touch with you as individuals and the company?
So, if possible, not knowing how far the audience reaches, but we'd love to see you in the store. We'd love to have you experience what we talked about tonight. Because once you come into the store, you're going to say, "Wow, that really made sense what they were talking about tonight." So, the easiest way to do that is 1968 South Main Street in Wake Forest. We're at the corner of Ligon Mill Road and Main Street, right across from Masonic, right in the plaza of Wake Forest Jewelers. So that's the easiest way. The other way is go to trekcbd.com. So go to trekcbd.com. There's all over the site. There's plenty of opportunities that if you're interested, if we piqued your curiosity tonight and you're interested in either education, you can go to our FAQ section or education section there, or you can go to a product specific page. But if you're still left kind of saying, you know what, I want to hear more, just put your name in the contact us page. We will call you back live, okay? And we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you on that. You can follow us on Facebook. It's at Trek CBD, right? TREK CBD. Or Instagram, it's at Trek.CBD. So there's a dot in between Trek and CBD. Either way, still the same rules apply. Hit the message button on there, right? Kind of get a feel for our company a little bit. You'll kind of get our postings, our comments, our reviews, all that. But then at the end of that, if you're like, you know what, I want to hear more before I come into the store, pick up the phone, email us, whatever you need to do, message us on Instagram, message us on Facebook, and we will actually call you back or direct message you back because we care about you. We really do. I can't say that enough tonight, is that we're in this for the people. We're in this because we know that people have the needs, big needs we talked about, anxiety, pain, inflammation, and sleep. Man, I'll tell you, man, as I'm getting closer to 50, sleep's a problem, right? Pain's becoming more of a problem, right? We want to help. That's where we are. So that's all the ways to get to us.
I think, and you could hit me up at Scott Brady too, by the way. Scott Brady on Facebook. I just want to let everybody know, I do every morning when I wake up in the morning, I find out what my mood's like. I mean, I'm a juju guy, right? I don't know what my juju is, and I find out what my mood's like. But every morning I put a post up. It's called "Be a Better You," and then I put the year. And I've been doing it for almost 7 years. It's "Be a Better You 2020" this year, right? And I put quotes up from Gary and a lot of other great people about how can you start your day and how can you be. I mean, like, what is your day gonna vibe up? And so hit me up on Scott Brady. I accept friend requests all day long, because I want people to feel like they're a part of something. And what happens mostly in business is the people that own the business are never the face of the business. And I think what you'll find from Nick Pion, which you could hit up on Facebook, and me, or on Instagram, is we're the face of the business. We're always there. And my personal life is beer and fun. You know what I mean? But there's messages every single day. My business life is CBD and fun, and there's messages every day. And Nick lives the same life. So no matter what you're doing or how you're doing it, we just want to be a part of it. And if I can just inspire one person every single day to be different than they were, like if you woke up and it was like the wrong side and you needed a little bit of life breathed into you, go on trekcbd.com. Nick posts every morning at trekcbd.com an inspirational thing. Go on my personal page. I do something inspirational. We are built to inspire people.
Yeah, we're not the company. If you want to follow, just to give you kind of an idea. So it's like, where can you find us? Well, why? That's the where or the how, but the why. The why is that if you kind of like what you've heard tonight and you like what Scott was talked about, inspirational, majority of what we post on digital is probably around the inspirational. The smallest part in education, we want people to get educated. So inspirational, just flat out inspirational messages education about CBD. The last probably part is product promotion. So if you've ever been following a company that's like, wow, man, I can't deal with one more 20% off promotion, or I can't deal with one more product, that's on us. That's on our brand. That's on who we are. So that's how we show up on social.
Okay. Very good point.
Definitely fantastic, guys. So I think I'll close out the live feed. Basically, I really appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate you opening up your shop and letting us hold it here. I really appreciate you supplying the beer. That's fantastic. That's not something we've had a guest do before, but I think it helps us gain a little attention and definitely move in the right direction. I love what you're doing here. I would like to say to the audience that, if what you've heard here you can apply to your own business, or you found value in the aspect of what Nick and Scott are providing, whether that be in marketing or advertising or customer service, no matter what the case may be, I want to ask that you subscribe, you like, you share this video. We're definitely going to edit. We're going to put this up on YouTube as well as our podcast. But I think this video, along with the other videos we've done, will help people who want to go into business themselves. And that's our goal. That's our goal here, is to provide as much value as possible. So that being said, granted, Nick and Scott are not directly connected to our Facebook page. If you guys have questions, leave it in the comments section. We can definitely ask them. We can definitely connect. We can definitely make sure that we answer whatever questions you guys may have. But what we do is we kill the live feed, okay? And then after we do that, we do what's called the after brews, which is a little more relaxed version of what the show is. So if you guys want to see the after brews, make sure to tune in. This week, I believe the Facebook and YouTube versions post at 11 a.m. So make sure to come back for that. We're about to have more conversation around the same thing in a little more relaxed environment.
Is this uncensored, this part?
Put your kids to bed. Put your kids to bed.
Okay, I like this part.
Yeah, you know what? Whatever goes. No rules necessarily. Whatever works. Or like I said, Gavin and I, our number one rule is provide value. So whatever the case may be, I think the number one thing is I'm going to turn on. What's that? Yeah, I'm down. I just want to turn on the audio for the camera so we don't have to hold these microphones anymore.
Sounds
but
good.
The audio's fantastic. Thanks so much. Thanks to Gavin for
Can
coming
we say
out
thank
here.
you to you guys?
Thanks.
Thank you for hosting this.
This is fantastic.
We appreciate you so much.
Absolutely.
You're the real deal. Man, you're
And we appreciate every single person that tuned in tonight.
Ryan, thank you for your service.
I don't wanna be just some after dark, late night party thought when the night gets lonely. I don't wanna be just an in-between, some old faithful flame when you're all gone home. I wanna be center stage, I wanna be in your spotlight, I wanna be
A little rough because
What?
The what's called died.
I don't know. I tested it. Well,
Your GoPro died.
That was just B-roll.
Oh, it's B-roll footage.
Yeah, that was just garbage. But I tested it home and it was using 50% of the CPU. And then when I turned it on and I was texting Toya, it was using like 99% and 100.
Wow.
So the live feed might be a little,
Choppy.
you know.
But you have the B-roll on there.
I'm like, damn. I don't know.
I don't. Let me see if I got any messages. I'm just refusing to look at my phone while you're.
Right.
It's all right. I mean,
Hold on, let's.
How many people do we have on?
You want to play back a little bit? Here you go.
I don't know, on mine I had.
Can we say thank you to you guys? Thank you for hosting this. I appreciate you so much.
That audio sounds fantastic. Gavin, what do you think?
The audio sounds a lot better.
Dude, that audio sounds so
It's a lot
good.
better.
I'll be right back.
Can you kill yours?
Yeah, sure.
Take yours off, I think I can connect.
How do I do that?
Just kill the video.
It's a but it's a what is it? It's a AirPlay screen mirror. Is that?
Are we on right now? The after hours?
Stop here. All right, it should be good.
Okay.
Not sure if he started.
This shit's gonna get weird if we are.
Yeah, that's right.
Ryan leaves, and I don't know if he's still. Yeah, he's still recording this.
Is he?
Yeah, but
He'll edit it, right?
Edit part of it out.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now playing.
I guess that's the.
Look at you, Gabby. You look good on camera, man.
You guys look great, man. You guys got the branded shirts and everything, man. You guys look great. I love the way the magazine.
Yeah, that magazine looks really good.
TV. That's amazing. You got part. Wish we had got
Yeah.
more of the
Very nice.
actual sign. And shot.
I'll get you orders, came in.
Got two orders?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I don't know if it's because of the podcast. But,
Who?
first one is coming in from Erica Weiss.
I have no idea who that is.
That's Kennersville, North Carolina. I don't know who that is.
I have no idea.
But it's triplicity. It's funny. It's triplicity. And then the second one is Amanda Jones,
I don't know who that is either.
Alabama.
Are you serious?
I don't know. Triplicity again.
Are we like? Is this happening?
Apparently it is.
Like, was it that quick? Was it that quick, Gavin?
I hope so. I hope that could be attributed to us. How has e-commerce been for you guys? Has that been
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, e-commerce is about a good quarter of our business. So it's
Ryan,
It's-
yeah,
we didn't-
let's
we didn't
do
do
our
it.
best to make sure that I stay at least a little bit at a 20,000 foot view. I appreciate that. All right.
Yeah, definitely. So,
That
normally
looks
at
really
this
good,
point
you guys.
we
Looks
talk
good.
about beer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
thank you
right.
guys.
That's really-
Trek
that's a good
CBD
shot.
actually provided the
You're actually
beer,
playing this back right now?
this
Yeah.
evening. So, Nick, you got
Trek
yours in
CBD
your
looks
hand. What are you drinking on there?
This is definitely one of my favorites.
Dude, it's
And
play
we
back
wanna
right now.
give a
This is
shout out
really
to
cool.
Lone
Yeah.
Rider Brewing Company, but in particular the Hideout here in Wake Forest. They've been a great partner of
Yes, that's
ours.
what it is.
We did our
It's
grand
a little
opening
choppy.
back in
Yeah,
August.
it's all right.
Yeah. 300 people
Oh, for the
here.
live footage, that's
But as long as the
fine.
audio doesn't break, you know what I mean? As long as the audio doesn't break, people are going to be able to listen.
Yeah. The podcast, and we usually get a pretty good response on the
I'm
podcast
drinking
too. So
Sweet Josie Brown Ale. Or I should say I'm starting here. We'll see what we finish.
I'd love to tell you what I'm drinking, but I'm like 4 in, so I forgot where I was at, but I know I'm a Lone Rider for sure.
Oh, we get on TV. So it looks like mine
Are we on the-
says
are we recording right now?
aged pistols at dawn. So this is a stout. I like stouts.
Like,
I'm a
I
fan
can
of this
edit
one.
whatever
Yeah.
out.
yeah, that's what we're talking about. I guess.
This is great. This is great. I mean, there's a
It's not
couple of there's a couple-
frozen or?
Yeah, but that's not enough to worry about. It wasn't that
Has it-
long.
Yeah, but
It's been a little bit since the last episode. How have things been going? It's been about what?
I mean, has it hiccuped like majorly? That's what I'm concerned about.
How's
Don't
everything
worry
been
about it, man.
going?
The audio sounds great.
So, definitely, obviously, we did a little adjustment on the audio here. So,
Okay.
I hope that works out for us. Definitely looking for
It looks
some
good,
improved
sounds
quality.
good.
And then enough microphones for everybody in the future. But yeah, so pretty much sales all the way. I actually have another consulting call this week. My goal with that is to help small local businesses in any way possible.
How's the beer, guys?
So that's pretty
Great.
exciting.
Thank
That's
you.
actually
Fucking
delicious.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's-
what
I
about
mean,
you, Gavin? What have you been up
It's
to?
important to us. I mean, they're
Just trying to
obviously
adjust to the new
they took it
normal.
off the chin, man. They had to
First
close
time
down,
40-year-old.
right? So
And a wife that definitely.
they were like I said, they came to our grand opening and they pushed port beers.
Definitely an adjustment for sure.
So least we can do is pay them back.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been,
Give
it's
them
been
multiple
something
shout outs
for
tonight.
my
Yeah.
Because man, I can't ever repay someone like that. You know what I mean?
And then the COVID hit. Now they're
Where they believed in us, I gotta believe in them.
Traveling.
Yeah,
for
I
the last
really
13
do feel for the bars, the restaurants.
Yeah, man, it's legit tough right now. It's
being home a lot.
Drinking?
My wife tells me all the time.
Still on feed, yeah.
It's not that bad, but also when the video freezes, the audio
steps you into the world that we live in.
I like it.
So now me just getting time on that calendar has been super important. But man, I'm loving being home with my kids. My kids are ready to go back to school, but I'm loving being home with my kids. Spending time.
So this is what we want to show you.
I was gonna say yard work, but then my wife.
And I would say this is probably, you know, like we said, we talked, we didn't want to become a white label store, but we wanted to what you call the house together. Yeah, because we wanted to do something with a purpose. Like, so, like, we built this store.
I dig it, but I'm still recording, so I don't want to
2 months
capture what
after
they're
launch.
doing.
But we said, you know what? We looked around. We said they're not.
Echo everything you guys said.
So we're not becoming a white label store.
My wife's
label and everything and
your
making
wife's
a margin. But we said, listen, there's nobody that's doing
the
a
kids.
blend of CBD, CBC, and CBG.
Those good.
So we worked with one of our top
Yeah.
manufacturers and said, make
Love
it
it.
something like this, because this is where we see the future of CBD.
Right.
And we want something unique. You know
So
what
I'm a little lay in this. So like, what's the benefits of having a CBC and a CBG? Like what benefits does that have
Yeah.
for the customer? Like
I mean?
what?
So if you think about the hemp plant in itself, right? And CBD, well, if you think of hemp and then marijuana, right? Two different plants, right? So in a marijuana plant, huge amount of THC, you know, good amount of CBD, right? Hemp plant, very little THC, a lot of CBD. But then when you look into the other 100 or plus cannabinoids that are in the plant, CBC and CBG make up less than 1% of the plant. So they're cannabinoids within the same plant, but what they're finding from these cannabinoids is, like for CBC, a greater reduction in pain, like 10 times more than even CBD, right? And then CBG, some greater properties in terms of depression, potential for anti-cancer,
Yeah,
and
I
whatnot.
mentioned that earlier. And
It's all preliminary.
On that, but I was like,
Yeah.
that's.
Like I just downloaded. It's actually interesting. I'm probably getting in trouble for this, but I'm going to share this. I just downloaded a piece of research from Harvard, right? So Harvard Health Letter is now writing about the cannabis craze, right? They include marijuana, everything, but CBD is in there, right? And they absolutely do the right thing. You know, it's Harvard. It's going to be well balanced, and they do a good job of kind of explaining this is where the research is right now. This is where it's promising, right? And if you think about it from a CBD perspective, there is a mountain of research. Surprisingly, around kind of 3 areas: around pain, around anxiety, and MS is actually a big area as well too.
This is the beer part, right?
That's
Where
where it is.
nobody's drinking?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm drinking. I'm drinking.
You said nobody's drinking?
But also, you know, coming from a pharma background, you can't hold that against the fact that there just isn't research done here. I mean, because research is expensive, and someone's got to fund it and whatnot. So it shows promise for cancer. We'll see what it nets out. You know what I mean? But we looked at it, Scott and I, and said, there's enough out there to say we want to put a different formulation on the market than what's currently out there.
Right.
So therefore, that's why we did dip our toe into a private label space, because no one else was doing it. So we're like, we're not going to do it because we're just going to say, hey, you know, Pachamama has this 750 meg. We're the same exact one. No, that wouldn't be any value. We'll sell Pachamama all day long. Right? They're better at that than we are.
They are. And that's the thing. So when you look at like a brand like Pachamama, and we're going to talk about Pachamama a lot during this whole thing. Like we talked about Pachamama all day long. And it's for multiple reasons. So Pachamama stands for Mother Earth, which means all their products have to be earthly, which means soil-based, right? Like come from the ground. And so when you look at Pachamama brand they have a lineup, right? A 7 with the natural lineup of turmeric and black pepper, which means anti-inflammatory, detox, kind of like clean the blood system out. Holy basil and ylang ylang, which is really overall balance and kind of like really creativity in getting into these things, right? Superfoods, goji berry and cacao. Focus, being able to focus with goji berries. Cacao is the flavor profile, helps you get into this, right? Helps you get into this thing. Valerian and kava kava, which is relaxing, sleep aid. Controlled in Europe for a long time, valerian root of helping with anti-anxiety and things like that, right? And then you go all the way into like echinacea and green tea, allergenic, you know, like literally helping with your allergies and your overall balance and things like that. And then you got the natural, right, which is overall balance. I mean, it's a natural full spectrum oil, no superfood, but Pachamama's doing it right. They find people. What we love about the Pachamama brand is they meet people where they're at, from a overall natural health thing, right? And we never would have had to go into the 750 range because we believe that Pachamama delivers that. But what Nick found with the CBC and CBG blend is that our customers are finding the additional benefit of having those cannabinoids in their oil because they're so rare. It's such a low cannabinoid oil, but it's such a high research cannabinoid. And Pachamama will catch on. Probably after this podcast when they find it. And they're going to catch on and they're going to do it. And by the way, if they do it better than us, guess what we're going to do?
Drop this one and
we're going to carry Pachamama. Right. Because Nick and I are going to carry whatever delivers the best experience to our guest. That's what we're going to do.
You think about
Nick and I will always carry whatever delivers the best result to our customer. We will always carry that.
The one thing we didn't talk about tonight was probably like, you come on a podcast like this, right? And this could live for forever, right out there. You know what I mean?
It's going to live forever, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And we feel like
these guys own the podcast. They're not going to take it down because we want them.
And you feel like you're giving away some of your secrets, right? To be honest, right? If you're being honest, right? This is the after session. You feel like you're giving away some of your secrets, like how we create our business plan, how we do stuff. But you know what? To me, it's always been about one thing, right? We talked about the creating synergies through partnerships, right? I can teach you exactly what we're doing, but you got to go out and do it. You know what I mean? You got to go and do it, right? And you got to have the passion to do it. So and I've done this my whole career. Like I would sit with people like that were competitors when I was in sales, I compete against different people in my company. But I'm going to share everything with you because at the end of the day, that's the kind of person I am. And then I'm going to go out and execute. I'm going to go out and execute the whole thing.
It's funny you say that because Shannon was like, "Are you guys going to talk about triplicity on
this?" Right. Everything.
And triplicity is ours, right? Like we own that nobody's doing triplicity. Right. After this podcast, people are probably going to try and do triplicity. Right. But can they explain what triplicity means?
Right.
And our business partner, Jeff, love him, but he was like, trademark it, register it, patent, whole 9 yards, get it done. Right. I said, Jeff, here's the difference is nobody will ever be able to explain it better than me and Nick can explain it.
Yeah.
And
how we get others to explain.
And as much as people want to think they can do this, if you can't tell people why, you can tell people how all day long. Yeah. CBD is a how business. This is how you take CBD. This is how you do. Well, Nick and I are a why business. Yeah. This is why you're going to do it this way. Right. This is why this actual product, whether it be whatever it is right for you. Whether it be capsule, edible, smokable, tincture, whatever it is, right? This is why. Nobody does the why in CBD. Everybody does the how. This is how you're going to manage this. Nick and I do the why. This is why you want to manage it this way. This is why you want to treat inflammation from the inside out and the outside in. I asked a customer the other day, I said, why do you take a topical? He's like, because when I'm in pain, it works. I said, sir, sounds reasonable. Have you ever thought about stopping yourself from getting into pain in the first place? No. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you have kind of like a reactive approach to CBD. How about a proactive approach, which is CBD oil, tincture, under your tongue, or edible, time release in your system? Like, why aren't you doing those things? And he's like, he goes, nobody's ever told me that's why I should do it. I'm like, this is the problem. You went into a store and you said, my back hurts. And some kid said, hey, this cream works. Rub it on your back. But sir, you're already in pain. Nick and I want you to not be in pain.
We see a similar thing. With,
like we want to stop that from happening in the first place.
The easiest thing to sell in the store is the gummy, right? I mean, because it tastes great. It tastes like a freaking gummy bear or a fruit ring or whatever.
Are you going with this Liberty thing?
Well,
Are you going with the Liberty anti-pain thing?
No, well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, kind of like that way. But I mean, but it's kind of the way.
Just tell a story.
I was.
Tell the real story. Tell the story.
Get there. Okay.
Tell the whole story. Are you gonna name it?
I might.
Are you?
But you know, it's the easiest part to sell. It's not offensive, right? You're not putting oil under your tongue and whatnot. It's not offensive, right? But the reality of it is, right? Take a 10 milligram gummy, right? Goes into your digestion. You're going to get probably 5 to 7 milligrams of it, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, you're going to have to eat a shitload of gummies if you've got chronic back pain, right? We have customers all the time that come in from other stores that say, the person sent me walking with a bag of gummies and I was complaining about back pain. Well, no. That is obviously CBD is like everything else. The longer you keep it in the system, the better it works. So when we have customers that walk through a door and say, listen, man, I'm having a hard time with this COVID, or I'm having a hard time with what's going on with, all the rioting and whatnot, so I'm stressed out. We're like, okay, are you stressed like just some of the time or all the time? All the time. Well, then you need to be on an oil. That's going to give you about 12 hours worth of coverage. But you're probably going to experience some times where you're going to feel a gap in coverage.
Why 12 hours? Why 12 hours?
Because it's 6 hours under the baton, right?
Why? Because what is our recommended dosage?